Hello, everyone. I'm excited to welcome you to our next episode of the Charity Charge Show podcast. Today, I have our guest, Abby James with nonprofit Megaphone. Abby, thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Awesome. For the audience, I think it's really relevant. At Charity Charge, we're always trying to help nonprofits in different ways and share out resources and education. And what nonprofit Megaphone does is they help grow and manage nonprofit uh, donor acquisition, getting people to your website, learning more about your mission through the Google Ads grant, which really is, as I understand it, a free program for nonprofits that Google offers. But even at Charity Charge, for example, we have someone that we pay obviously to manage that program where we're spending money on Google Ads. So enter Abby James and nonprofit Megaphone. This for nonprofits and utilizing the benefit of what Google offers, I think could be an incredible way to ultimately allow organizations to grow awareness and get more people involved in their organization. So anyway, with that preamble, Abby, can you talk to us a little bit about nonprofit Megaphone and your role there and kind of why should nonprofits be interested in this?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks. So yes, nonprofit Megaphone manages the Google ad grants for nonprofit organizations. And like you kind of mentioned, you can't really find supporters, grow supporters, get donations, do fundraising if nobody can find you, first of all. If nobody knows you exist, makes everything else after that very difficult. So, this is kind of the first step. The Google Ad Grant program is kind of that first step in building your supporter base. Having people find you online that might not be specifically looking for you, but something that you provide, something that you offer, something about your mission, and driving that traffic to your website so that people can find you is, yeah, first and foremost what the Google Ad Grant is great for. To back up a little bit, nonprofit Megaphone was founded back in 2016. Our founder, and get this, his name is Grant.
That's great, Charity. Oh,
Yeah,
awesome.
and
Charity
it,
starts, we were started in 2016.
okay,
Kudos to you
same.
guys. Celebrating
Yes.
9 years this year.
Yeah, same. Yeah. And yes, our founder's name is Grant, and it is not lost on us that he started a business that deals with the Google Ad Grant. So there is that. But yes, he did a big survey of nonprofits and found that over 70% had never even heard of this program. And it's been around for decades now. And so he realized, yes, there's something missing here. Let's find nonprofits, let them know about this program, and that's how nonprofit Megaphone started. Essentially, is um, this
Abby, with
missing
that with
piece.
that data with that data point, right? And for organizations that maybe have never heard of this Google Ads program, can you talk
Mhm.
specifically about what that is and what kind of essentially free value nonprofits can unlock through it?
Yeah, yeah, it's huge. It is $10,000 every month in-kind advertising dollars to promote your organization on Google's search network. So I'm sure we're all familiar at this point. You go to Google, you type in some keywords, and up pop search results pages. Now, oftentimes at the top of those pages, you're going to see ads. They're labeled sponsored, but they are ads. And Google realized that for profits will almost always be able to outbid nonprofits for this space. And so this is sort of Google's way of evening out that playing field a little bit and allowing nonprofits to also show up, get in front of people, show up, above the fold, if you will, and drive traffic to their website. Yeah,
Sure.
$10,000 is a lot of spend. Yeah,
Sure.
it's
And I want to be clear about something, just kind of breaking this down. Um, there is on the sort of the unit level of like the individual ad or the impression of sort of being able to outbid the for profits, as you mentioned. But for the nonprofit, they don't have to spend any incremental dollars. In other words, is the program set up where if an organization wanted to take advantage of the Google Ads grant, they could spend up to 10,000 for free. It basically would cost them nothing on the ad spend.
Correct. Correct. Yes. The program's completely free for nonprofits. They have up to $10,000 to spend on ads every single month. Yep.
Excellent. And I might be, I got a bunch of questions I'm gonna ask you, but I'm curious. Could you share some, whether it's case studies or just examples of organizations that nonprofit Megaphone? I want to try to really relate it back. If you put yourselves in the shoes of an organization, someone that's running a nonprofit um, here that's listening to this episode that's never heard of this, or maybe they have, but they've been confused how to get started with it. Can you talk about some of the ROI and some of the success stories that your organization has seen over the years? Just even and briefly getting to know you and looking over your website. I mean, I think you've helped over 750 nonprofits run successful ad grants. Is that right?
Yes, we have almost 800 clients at this point from
Amazing.
small local food banks that are maybe just serving, their county or, a few zip codes, all the way up to large international organizations. Organizations of all shapes and sizes we work with. And so the Google ad grant is essentially, driving additional traffic to their websites, people that would not have found them otherwise. Um, and in terms of ROI, so usually, I mean, every nonprofit at the end of the day needs leads, essentially. Leads for people to volunteer, to donate, to attend a webinar, to register for their 5K run, right? It all kind of ends up as they need leads. And this is essentially giving them new leads, people coming to their website, finding out about them, um, and then
Bringing people to
allowing
their front door every day that maybe had never heard of their organization. I mean, how refreshing
exactly
is that, right? If
right.
you're listening to this, if you're running a nonprofit, if every day you could leverage this, get the $10,000 Google Ads grant for free, that's monthly, mind you, and you could have new supporters interested in your mission. And I also love what you said there because there's multiple pathways that people could come in, whether as becoming a volunteer, making their first donation, joining the race, or whatever event you might be having. So there's a lot of ways to bring more people in, but uh, getting those people to your front door.
Right. And then once they get there, hoping they convert. So thinking about what do I want them to do once they do get to my website? And am I set up to bring them through, for a buzzword user journey? Am I set up correctly to bring them to where I want them to be, to do what I want them to do? Thinking about that is also important because driving that traffic is one thing, but then there's a whole other side to it in getting them to convert and do the things that you want them to do as well. Mhm.
Totally. I think that's absolutely critical. It would be a big waste if you just brought them somewhere but didn't give them a direction point, right? To kind of steward them through that process to get involved with your organization. And I imagine a lot of times, it's being strategic and it's also recognizing where these people are at. I mean, there are maybe them off the top of the hand. I mean, I didn't rehearse this with you, so if you don't know the statistics, that's fine. But I mean, I can share accurately, but from a qualitative standpoint, that study after study show, there's a point at which someone's going to get initially make their first interaction with an organization, volunteer, make $100 donation, then that is the starting point to be able to grow that over time and really nurture that relationship.
Exactly. And I think what you're referring to, I believe they say it's like 7 to 10 engagements often before they make a bigger ask or before they make a bigger donation or get involved on a bigger level. Yeah. So making sure you have the newsletter, great calls to actions, and plenty of first steps. Follow us on social media, share this story. Yeah, sign up for our newsletter. Yeah,
Yep. And let's jump back again for people that are listening to this episode that maybe have never heard of this or they have, but their nonprofit is not utilizing Google Ads. Can you share just some tangible examples of an organization or two that you helped that had never been doing this and then they started doing it? What kind of results did they see, and how did that go?
yeah. I'm thinking of a few that we've brought on recently. So there is a little bit of a learning curve in Google's algorithm. So building out the account really
And
big in
fair
that.
full disclosure, yeah, I mean, we're Charity Charge is a social enterprise. We're a for profit, so as of now, we
Same.
can't take advantage of this. But I have the Google algorithm, and we're going to get into it later because I'm just jumping in. We outsource that. We work with an individual, a contractor, and over the years, now we've been running part of the Google network for a long time. But staying on top of the trends and all of that is a full time job. It's overwhelming. And so I want to get into it, the wealth that your firm is able to bring to empower it, because I've always looked at this Google Ads as like, it seems great, this Google Ads program for nonprofits. Hey, $10,000 free. But if it's not executed correctly, it's you could waste all that money. So talk to us, yeah, about
Yeah.
some of the successes where organizations have came to you and said, "Hey, maybe they learned about it, but they go, how can you actually help us implement this and run this, execute this effectively?"
Yeah. And actually, I believe Google even says that the average spend is only $800 of the 10,000. And I believe its conversions are, I think it's, 8% more likely if you are having an expert running this program for you. Really thinking about the spend though. Yeah, everybody definitely you want to utilize it, right? I want to spend the full 10,000. But depending on how expensive and how competitive the keywords that you're using are, that $10,000 could go for, five, six, 700 clicks a month if your cost per click is really high, or if your cost per click is really low, that could be thousands. We have some
Hmm.
organizations, yeah, that are, three, four, 500 clicks every single month, some that it's thousands. So it kind of depends on your competitive keywords or not. But then again, at the end of the day, that traffic is great, but looking at the conversion piece of it as well. Is it relevant traffic? Is it good traffic? That's kind of what matters at the end of the day, not so much the spend, um, not so much even I mean, certainly clicks, the more people you're bringing to the website, the more leads, the better it is. But for some organizations that have a really big ask for, maybe memberships or webinars and things, maybe less traffic is okay because more people, of those people that are coming, they're getting a lot of conversions. So what we like to do is really focus on each individual nonprofit. They are all so unique. They have different needs, different requirements, different asks, and really focusing on what at the end of the day is it that you really need, and can we help you with that, and in what ways. Testing out different keywords, bringing in different audiences that maybe nobody's thought of, and helping them through that way. So ROI is it
Hmm.
like with any marketing, especially digital, one hard to like quantify to prove really, because then a lot of those conversions are actually happening in person, right? An animal rescue, somebody sees an ad and they actually walk in the door to rescue an animal. Connecting those two is often very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, there's different way. that's another piece that I could hold or jump into it right now. I mean, what we've seen in our own experiences, we can track what we can track through the Google ads and people, searching for, charity charge, like which is would be a brand specific keyword for us, or best credit card for nonprofit. They're going to then go to a landing page, basically a specific page that's created for that off that Google ad that's hosted on our site. If they fill in information, it goes into our CRM. We're able to track that and we can see it on the back end in Google Analytics, how it's performing, right, in aggregate and try to understand that. But inevitably, people today, they hit that and then they back out the URL. They might then come in through the general homepage, or they call in, they pick up the phone, or they answer whatever. So I think that that's obviously an important piece for organizations to understand about this. Is there's elements of it that you can directly track, and then there's sort of this qualitative side of analysis of your overall traffic, and you put your thinking cap on and try to be a detective, and that's a
Yep.
fun part. Back at charity charge, could you go back for a
Sure.
second though, and just walk through? I mean, it could be a hypothetical or an example of you know an organization that came to y'all. What's step one? What are the kind of questions that you're asking them? Say I'm the executive director of the Central Texas Food Bank here in Austin, Texas, and we have corporations that donate, that we love, that are great. We always need more of them here in Central Texas, in the Austin San Antonio area. We also have volunteer that we need more of, and we have volunteer opportunities every day at our food bank. We also want to make sure that restaurants that have extra supply of food, that instead of throwing it away, that they could donate it to us. And we also have programs where people that obviously we're trying to serve can pick up meals directly from our food bank. When you think about it from those different kind of audiences perhaps they might have,
Mhm.
what would you say? And hey, I just heard about this, Abby, but I've never used Google ads at all. How might I start thinking about it, like, strategically?
Yeah, great point. You're right. Thinking about the different audiences. It's usually people you serve and then people who are going to support you in that service. Usually it boils down to those two. So, yes, a lot of the time what they need more of are those who are going to support them. A lot of nonprofits get um, their service are referrals, maybe referrals from doctors, from the criminal justice system, from, other community partners or whatever. So they get the referrals there. So most often when I talk with nonprofits, most of the time, you're right. They need business partnerships, they need community involvement, volunteers, donations. So thinking about, do you have the content on your website to support those kinds of searches and bring that? A lot of people will list all of their programs, which is great. Um, but, some articles, some pages about, maybe corporate social responsibility, team building, community partnerships, thinking about how are you going to attract that other piece, if you don't need people, who need your services. So definitely it kind of all starts with content in a sense. Um, and thinking about that and how to drive that traffic. And then once they are there, again, thinking about that user journey, getting them to follow through with something at that point. Yep, newsletters are great. Getting people to sign up for newsletters are great. That will definitely help continue the conversation. Yeah, I think it all kind of
Awesome.
starts with
I'm gonna
content.
Great. And I'm gonna share, Abby, here. I appreciate that. My screen. Again, new platform, allow. Because we're gonna have the video of this. I'm on your website right here, and you have a section, case studies, right?
Hmm. Yep.
There's a variety of different organizations that you all have helped. So I am putting you on the spot. So do your best, but no pressure here. Um, let's look at it from a couple different ways, because I really want to drive home organizations to kind of understand and start thinking about this. So, National Council of Nonprofits, we've collaborated with them a bit, really important organization. Talk about, look at some of these statistics. You've helped create 6,000 plus new visitors from ads,
Mhm.
7.4% click through rate, 150 extra monthly newsletter submissions for them. They're taking
Mhm.
advantage of this Google ad grant working with your organization. What are some of the things like that you would do to generate this? I imagine that would drive getting these. What kind of ads would they be running? What kind of keywords would people be searching for?
Yeah, good question. Kind of depends on, again, what content they have on their website. So you can use keywords that you do not have that aren't supported on your website, but ads will not perform. So basically, we're going to individual landing pages and doing the keyword research for them to figure out, yes, what are those keywords that people are searching for, high search volume keywords that people are searching for to bring that traffic. So really kind of depends honestly on what what content, what keywords are on there.
If I was like day one coming to your organization, what would the first step be? What would kind of the process be for nonprofit Megaphone to ultimately make this successful? What kind of things would you be talking to us about prior to running the ads? And then once you go live initially with the ads, what is kind of that ongoing refinement, measurement, tweaking?
So first of all, I'm going to ask your needs. Again, thinking of your website, what do you need people to do once they get to your website? What are your goals? Do you have a goal for newsletter signups? Do you have a fundraising goal? Do you have a goal for your webinars? What are those goals? Do you have the content on your website to support those goals? And then what other kind of marketing are you doing? And is it working or not? Are you getting leads from those other channels to figure out what's working and what's not? Asking about, yeah, are you tracking that conversion? Do you know what's working, what's not? And then once we actually, get into the account, again, we're looking at clicks. Um, there are different bidding strategies that you can use. So we will do like A/B testing on different bidding strategies. Keywords are constantly being optimized, updated. You know, Google Trends, keyword trends change a lot. And so keeping up with that, really, the more keywords you can actually have in your account, kind of the better, right? Because that's going to drive traffic from all different places. It showed that CTR for National Council of Nonprofits, and that CTR is a big one. The search network average is about 3%. Google holds its grant recipients to a little bit of a higher standard, and you're required to keep a 5% or above. So that is a big one. Who are you showing the ads to, and are they actually clicking through? That's a
And
big
I'm
piece of
glad,
it.
I'm glad you bring that up. I think it sounds like that's another reason. I mentioned we work, on our own with someone that manages this because we just can't internally have this expertise. But it sounds like you're saying that as a requirement, you could potentially get booted if you're not hitting certain performance, right? Can you talk to us? Can you
Yeah.
just elaborate on that?
Yep. Because it is like Google's money you're spending, although there is no money exchanging hands. Google does have some rules and regulations that you have to follow to maintain your access to that $10,000 every month. The CTR is a big one. You have to
I
show that
actually
it
really
is
respect that.
active. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really easy to spend someone else's money, but when it's yours and like you're on the line, on the hook,
Hmm.
you're going to be more diligent about it. So I respect that. And also, I'm curious. I think when we started this, you had mentioned that it's in kind. Does the nonprofit have to do any extra like accounting or paperwork? Like, basically, does it create a burden on some sort of accounting side of stuff?
No, it doesn't.
Awesome.
It's yeah, essentially just like a donation, and it's not like a typical grant where, yeah, a grant where Google wants to see some sort of reporting or something back to show how you're using that. There's no
Mhm.
requirements like that, no.
Excellent. I think that that's a really good thing for us, and I'll make sure that when we put the blog out about this, um, of course, I can have an opinion about it, but whether I do or not, or whatever it is, there is a lot of work and extra steps that can come with getting money. They come with nonprofits getting grants, right? And
Mhm,
there's at the highest level, restricted and unrestricted. And unrestricted or trust-based philanthropy, those kinds of things are really helpful for organizations that are in our communities trying to make a difference. They're out there on the front lines, busting their butts, overworked, underpaid. We can't have a vibrant, communities and world without them. And then to saddle them with all extra paperwork really
mhm,
takes away from the mission.
yeah,
So I guess I do put my opinion there. So shout out to everyone that's leading a nonprofit and really
mhm,
trying to make a difference. I support you. I want to
yeah,
share one more case study on your site, which is with
sure,
Scouting America. And I think this
yeah,
might also be a little bit more tangible because
mhm,
here's what I look at this as incredible. Um, they have, what groups could call an earned revenue model. I'm sure they have different ways that they're fundraising, maybe from individuals, corporates, etc. But they also have a membership model. So by utilizing and working with nonprofit Megaphone, which allowed them to take advantage to the maximum, the $10,000, they were able to generate an estimated 500 new members every year. You
yeah,
want to talk about this one?
yeah, I'm actually glad you brought this one up because it's really interesting because most people would think Scouting America has a strong enough brand name, but they utilize it and utilize it very well. And yes, you can use this for your revenue generating pieces of your nonprofit. Many of them have it, right? Ticket sales for performing arts organizations. Yes, all day, every day. Signing up for webinars, for paid classes, your shop. A lot of nonprofits have shops. We can promote all of that. So it doesn't have to be just because a lot of people think, like, well, I don't have anything to sell, I don't have a product. That's fine. We can still use the Google Ad Grant, but a lot of nonprofits do. And they've maybe heard that they can't use the Google Ad Grant for that, but you most definitely can. And this is a good example with Scouting America because, yes, their revenue generating is through memberships, and that is perfectly fine. We can write ads for that. We can write ads for your shop. We can write ads for any classes, or we have some parks, museums, community gardens. All of those can run ads for their revenue generating. Hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And when you talk about writing the ads, are you also, I think you hinted at it, but in order to optimize this, as you talked about, the ads have to relate to content on the site. As part of this, you're also maybe writing blogs or landing pages, things that would be hosted on the nonprofit's website.
We have content writing services as well because of how important that piece is. Yes.
Excellent.
So yeah. Uh,
Abby,
yeah.
Abby, what talk me through? We mentioned how there's this $10,000 a month. I want to get to the nonprofit megaphone business model in a second. But if you have the time, there's two more areas I want to talk about. One is I don't know if Google discontinued it, but back in the day, my understanding was that there's a higher amount of Google ads you can uncover, like more than the 10,000, if you have certain performance or meet certain thresholds. Is that right?
Interesting. Yeah, you might be referring to a couple different things. First of all, there was a Grants Pro that organizations have been legacied into where it's actually 40,000 in ad grants ad grant spend every month. So there are some that are legacied into 40,000. They do not offer that anymore.
Okay.
But yeah, it's not available. But there are times where I see it a lot where the spend actually goes over that $10,000. Google, if a website and if ads are performing well, that just happens, yes. And then sometimes Google will also even give a bump up near the end of the year for Giving Tuesday, end of year fundraising, and things like that. They'll occasionally give accounts more spend there too.
Excellent. And lately, I feel, and we see it personally here at Charity Charge, right, as we're thinking about our marketing and Google Ads and SEO and all of that, a big shift, um, especially even with Google and related to AI, right? They're Gemini. So now when you search for something, you'll often see the ad. You'll then see the Google AI's Gemini giving you, some sort of response. And then below that, you would see sort of the organic content that it's pulling up in search engines, right? Other people, might be now firing up Perplexity or ChatGPT or Grok and searching for, what are 5 organizations in my zip code that I can volunteer with next week? So
Hmm.
and I know this is changing really by the day, and it's crazy, kind of how it's what's going on in the marketing world and how marketers are reacting to this. Like, how has your firm been responding to this, and what's the firm's thoughts and maybe your thoughts on how AI is impacting search and how organizations can adapt?
Yeah. First of all, I have spoken with nonprofits who actually found us through ChatGPT. So I do think ChatGPT is picking up so eventually your information could be included in ChatGPT. The higher you rank on Google, I think the better chances of you showing up in those AI platforms. Um, in terms of the AI on search results pages, the excerpts from AI, Google did recently have some information provided about that they are going to start including some ads potentially in that.
Hmm.
And really, about 85% of people online are still on Google. That is still a thing. So I think as of right now, we haven't seen a huge drop in like impressions or clicks or anything because of AI.
Talk to me about, as we close out this episode, Abby. Talk to me about what's the business model for your company. What kind of fees might this cost a nonprofit to be able to unlock this free 10,000?
Well, I will first of all let them all know it is free. It is part of the Google for Nonprofits program. So if you sign up for Google Nonprofits, it is completely free. If you do want to have somebody like us help you with it, basically we can do everything for you from start to finish. We can acquire it. We have a lot of people come to us who actually, maybe 10 years ago somebody applied for it and they haven't touched it and they have no idea where it is. We'll go and find it for you, whatever needed. We set up conversion tracking, we do the keyword research, we write the ads, manage it, testing, and just continue to build out your account kind of based on your priorities. Our services run anywhere from, about 400 a month on up, kind of depending on what your goals are, what your needs are. And that's why it's great to get on a call and just see if it would be a good fit. For
One
some
of
organizations, it might not be.
And one of the things that I love about this, and as we've been growing Charity Charge we do as much as possible is try to make everything math. And that's what is great. If there's some initial investment sort of test and they start doing this with your organization, they're going to be able to see the math of, hey, is this giving us that return? And that's what I think is really critical for organizations as they think about growing. And I've just seen over the years, the right ones do the right things and they're able to really grow to whatever level they want to grow to, and not have all of the stress. But then I've also seen other organizations that do things that are not measurable, events, let's say, and they put
Mhm.
in all of this time and effort and expense of whatever supplies or things and time, whether they get these things discounted or not, like a conference room to have it at, and different sponsors sponsoring the auction or silent auction, and they walk away with nothing, like next to nothing, you know? And where they might celebrate, hey, we raised $800, but they're not thinking about that they put $8,000 of time and effort, into it. And so that's what I really love about the Google Ads grant and what, nonprofit Megaphone can do. Make it math, and they'll be able to see the numbers and know. I do encourage you all to check out the Google Ads grant and nonprofit Megaphone. I really appreciate you being on and sharing this out. Thanks again for everyone for listening. Really appreciate growing this community of nonprofit organizations with the Charity Charge Show, and look forward to sharing out future episodes with other nonprofit leaders and interesting trends and services and nonprofit tools that your organization can take advantage of. I'm Stephen Garten. Thanks again.